Welcome to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. I'm your host, Trudy Rankin. And today I have someone with me who has got a lot of things in common with what I'm interested in and what my business is actually about. And I've got with me Sophie Howard, who is an online business investor, and she has a business called Freedom Navigator. Now, I was really excited when a crowd called Interview Valet reached out to me, and I'm just going to do a shout out for Interview Valet. I've got no affiliate links with them whatsoever, but several times now they have asked me if I'd be interested in interviewing specific people for my podcast, and they are invariably is a good fit. And it's interesting people. And when I saw the one sheet for Sophie, I went, oh yes, I'd love to talk to Sophie because she is somebody who has started, scaled, and actually sold 6- and 7-figure businesses, which of course piqued my interest. And she basically started online with an Amazon business in 2013, which is like way back in internet time. And she actually ended up selling that for over $1 million US dollars in 2015. Now, US dollars is, when you think about the exchange rate, that can make a big difference there. And she's actually launched over 1,000 products. She's got educational programs that teach thousands of people how to sell online. She's done a lot of building of courses, and she's now focusing her efforts on buying other online businesses. And I have a specific interest in that as well, and teaching others how to build a portfolio of what we call income generating assets. And we're going to talk about that more as we go through this interview. But welcome to the podcast, Sophie.
Thank you, Trudy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's just really exciting. Now, do you want to just explain to people where you are and maybe just a little bit about your journey, about where you've gotten to the stage you are with your business?
Sure. So I'm based in New Zealand, which is a great place to run an online business because there aren't very many real customers on the ground here. Small population at the bottom of the world. So we're quite a plugged in sort of tech savvy country, I think. And as I had young children and I was even more constricted in ability to travel and move and front a shop or something, but wanted my own business, the only answer was to look at an online business when I started out. I had a very nice job in government in Wellington, but when I was up to baby number 2 and looking at going back to work, just was all a bit too hard. It wasn't actually worth paying for the childcare, commuting, burning the candle at both ends, be rubbish at the day job, be a zombie as a parent, didn't look that appealing at all. And even there was no progress out of it. It was just a more senior job with more stress, bigger hours expected, a higher tax bracket, and pay the nanny more. None of this got better. So time to do a swift rethink. I looked at so many online business models. I am not the girl to do the Tupperware parties. I'm hopeless, total introvert. Don't really like anyone in my house. Well, I like friends over, but I didn't want to do that sort of public facing. I mean, here I am on a podcast, but I don't want to be broadcasting my life. I'm very private. Wanted to focus on my family, wanted lots of free time, and I had to start something that paid off quite quickly. It wasn't a hobby. I wasn't going to start a blog and maybe it would take off. It was like cold commercial reality. Let's hit something scalable. So I did an Amazon product business, and maybe with some beginner's luck, I don't know, but I had a cracker first product. It was really good. So I made a lot of money very quickly and was on a bit of a heady high for a while, but managed it quite well. I managed to launch a lot of other products from those profits and learned a lot. And then I sold that business, learned a lot by selling a business. That was over $1 million. That was the first one. Then I started and scaled a few of the other brands. I sold a tea business that was a really nice quality premium brand. And I went to Sri Lanka and I met the tea growers. It was a really cool product and really fun, creating something quality, not just plastic tap from China, and chuck it on some containers and hope somebody buys it on Amazon. And then did that for a bunch of years, taught other people, enjoyed teaching. I actually used to teach entrepreneurship in a university before I even did my own business, so like teaching. And then I morphed into the Kindle game because it's just another platform within Amazon. So the keyword research the same. You create a product with a ghostwriter, not through a factory, but basically it's a little sausage machine of do market research, produce something quality, launch on Amazon. Lots of easy stuff that I already knew, lots of new stuff to learn about how books work. And that was really fun and still going really, really well. So I love the ebook model. And I've got a little team that keeps running that for me. And I still teach Kindle. And I've got lovely students and they do well. So that side's all great. But since the pandemic, basically 2-3 years ago, when I was stuck at home and looking at how to grow some of the stuff I already had with some new rules of the game, like couldn't travel. So I was about to take a trade show trip to India. That was off. So thought, what else can I do here? And when I had my non-fiction business, publishing books on Amazon, I could see that there were people with fiction businesses doing really, really well, but I didn't have a clue about it. And I'm not an author. You don't need to be for the non-fiction books. But I could see that the fiction people had really cracked some formula. I had no idea. It's like, well, how do I learn this? And there were some courses on how to be a better writer. I don't want to be an author on one of these businesses. So I bought one off Empire Flippers. And it was a decent investment. But what I liked was it was an instant fast forward. I instantly had a team. I instantly had a portfolio of books selling. I had a team of writers. I had all the launch protocols. I had a database of readers. I had a database of other authors we did trades with to promote each other's on our list. It's like, this is easy. And boom, the second the money cleared, I had that income stream. So then I bought a newsletter business for authors. And then I bought a software business with design stuff for authors. And then I did a bunch of totally non-author related stuff. The last business I bought was for guitar players, and it's a content site on WordPress, but it's great. It's really low maintenance, really profitable. I never buy businesses that I want to operate myself. I've got my own criteria, and everybody would have slightly different criteria. So I was lucky that the profits from my non-fiction business let me just jump straight across and both learn fiction, but also test out this whole new strategy of buying, not building. I have done every course. I am like absolute junkie for good programs and masterminds. I've done them all. So I really am happy to invest in a result. And this seemed like guaranteed result. There's none of the delay, none of the false starts and the trial and error and the stress of doing your existing thing whilst building the next thing. It was like, just if you can, pay. And even if you can't pay, negotiate some vendor finance or start small but buy something. And the way these businesses for sale get valued, it's usually around 3 times the net profit of the last 12 months. So in 3 years, your asset you've bought should be completely paid off and debt free. And then it's just really a matter of how big. Obviously, the valuations can vary based on lots of variables, like how tight is the product, how hard to copy, or how big is the business. The valuation gets bigger as a multiple of the profit. The bigger the business, the more attractive to the market. But I like that sort of sweet spot where you don't need to own 1,000 of them, but maybe half a dozen businesses like this is all you need to run to live off. And if one has a wibble or one doubles, that's great. You've got enough attention on all of them. None of them, if they stopped for a bit or if there was an issue, you wouldn't ever want to have just one of these. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm building up my portfolio of online businesses. So I've done 28 deals now, and I haven't had any duds. And I've had some real success ones, real winners that I've grown since I bought them. And I've got really good terms of payment and timing of installments and handovers. So I think there's something good in this, and it's not really talked about so much.
No, it actually isn't talked about so much. It is interesting because I've had people on the podcast before. So I've got Liz and Matt Rod from eBusiness Institute. I've had them on here to talk about it. And I've also had one person here just recently, Michael Stavicki, who talks about the ebook type concept. But it was from a, what's the right word? It was from a fiction perspective. He's now looking at it from a, how do I help you advertise your book type of perspective, and offers a service there. But it's fascinating. Both of those models are fascinating. And I'm really interested by the fact that you've basically taken a skill set that you were building and you built, and then you went, hang on, this is like related, but I don't know anything about it. Instead of taking 2 years to learn how to do it, you actually went and bought a business that's got all the skill sets already incorporated and embedded into it. So I've got a few questions around that. So just out of curiosity then, so you say it came with a team.
Yep.
And do you have a team like that's just for you, like corporate headquarters type team that helps you manage the whole lot of all of the portfolio?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I have a very small team. I don't ever want to build an empire. So part of my criteria of any business I buy is it has to really slot into the existing platforms we know about. So you mentioned Matt and Liz Rudd. We're great friends with them and coordinate. And anybody who wants to do deep WordPress skills, they go and do that with them. I don't cover really techie stuff. But I've got one girl on my team who's in New Zealand as well. She does all my tech stuff. And so she makes sure WordPress sites stay alive, plugins are working, security stuff. She tells me what my lost passwords are. And so she does all the tech stuff, and she helps me assess the deals to check that I look at the business model and the quality of the assets and the numbers and what's actually included in the deal, and will it work for me and can I grow it? She does the health check on the site metrics. Does that traffic look a bit dodgy? Does that link look like it's a bit sketchy? She's got a good skill set for that. So she helps on the assessment side, and then she operates them once they're up and running. So if I get somebody to write a bunch of emails that go out to a new customer, she'll load that up onto Active Campaign where we have all our emails go out, and she basically automates everything. For example, what she can do is, I bought a newsletter business where every day people would pay, get 5 posts a day in this newsletter, and each promoter would pay $150 or $160, and they'd manually email us to say, can we go in on this date? And then we'd say, yes, it's free. And then they'd say, here's the text and the image and the link for the Amazon book or whatever. And we'd load it up into the email, and then we'd hit send on the email on that date with all the bookings. And then Tess took that, who's a superstar, and she said, right, let's make it a WordPress website. The people who want to book in the newsletter go in, check the schedule, click on the link, load up their content, pay on PayPal. I just collect the money. So now and it sends out automatically every day, 7 days a week. So that's a really cool business. And I didn't expect that one to go as well. I've got one person who just hits send on the newsletter. She just does a scan of the quality of the books, because we don't want these deals being low quality for the readers. So we inherited her with the business. So she's very part-time hours, and she's great. We made some massive efficiency gains. We started a new list of different types of readers and appealed to different authors with a whole new product, but on that same model. So we've replicated it broader. We've cut out a load of overhead. We've made it a better user experience for the authors. I've cut out tons of costs and moving parts, and it's very efficient. So I've got one person there, Tess, doing the techie stuff. I've got one assistant, Anna, who's in Costa Rica, and she's really good. She speaks beautiful English. She can go into my inbox and make really good judgment calls on what I need to deal with, what she can deal with. Scheduling, all that sort of stuff is taken care of. And she does things like reaches out to affiliates. So some of the businesses I've bought have got things like an affiliate who'll promote a design bundle that's only $10 a month, but we've got hundreds and hundreds of subscribers to it. So every month she'll find some people on YouTube or Facebook groups or on her searches around the internet and contact. She has a target of get 5 new affiliates each week for one of those businesses I bought. So that costs me nothing really when I look at the income it generates. And then I just have one other person, and she's part-time as well. They're all part-time. Tess has got a new baby, so she's 2 days a week. Anna's got another client, VA multitasker, so she does about 30 hours for me. And then I've got another lady who does my bookkeeping, all the coding, keeps all the tax stuff running smoothly, tells me how much. I get a Skype message from her every Tuesday morning, how much profit each business unit's made. So we run them as all different business units in Xero. So here's your ebook sales and profits. So total sales minus ads, bingo, here's your number. Here's your subscription business numbers, monthly takings, this week's takings. There's no expenses at all on that one. And then here's the newsletter business, which I bought. Here's what we made this week. It's really cool. So I just scan each week, a quick health check of, sometimes if it's a business with an email list, the weekly little snippet report will say 20 new subscribers or lost 3 affiliates who didn't send out the last promotion or something. And sometimes things are on a monthly cycle, but most of them it's the same each week like clockwork. And someone else did all that hard work building the books, recruiting and training the writing team, coming up with the pen name or figuring out which readers will promote it and leave reviews and all the processes and all the standard operating procedures. So we inherit just a protocol to follow with each business we buy. And we don't need that many people because there's no mucking around testing out stuff. We just run them.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. A couple of curiosity questions, a little bit pedantic potentially, but with Xero, do you use Xero?
Yes.
You use Xero, yeah, and I'm thinking, because you say that you've got multiple business units that you're running as separate business units. Is that all under the one account, or is it multiple accounts?
One account. I've got the property in a trust actually, so that's a separate bit of Xero, but there's no overlap really there. So one account, it's the international payment setting one.
Yes.
So it's a bit more than the cheap one. And a lot of my businesses that I've bought have PayPal payments. I don't know quite how so many ended up doing that, because it's a horrible fee structure, but it's also really hard to get those customers to resubscribe to another platform. So we just take the fees, and it's a horrible hit. And every time I cringe, but it's about 10% goes to PayPal for some of those, but it's still really healthy numbers afterwards. I bought it based on the profit, and the numbers had that built into the expenses. So still the same profit. So everything, a lot of the customers go to PayPal, that gets washed through to my bank here in New Zealand, and that gets coded into Xero against a business unit. My team keep timesheets and code their hours to the different business units, or a general sort of Sophie bucket of chaos trying to keep up with my silly ideas and solve problems I've created in businesses that they were running perfectly well till I showed up. They fix links or help me organize something. I'm doing a talk and they'll help me get some notes together or something like that. There's a little bit of overhead, but not much overhead. And then we have a bunch of agencies as well. So the copywriting's done by niche website builders. They're really, really good. And they do really, I could try and keep up to date with SEO, and I could try and hire content writers and see if it was any good, and if the keyword density was right, and if the keywords were the right ones. I'd rather just give it to someone who's a total pro and we've got a great relationship with. So they've been super. That's been really good for the content sites. When I say I did 28 deals, probably the majority were quite small content sites with a plan to get ad revenue and affiliate revenue.
Oh, yeah. So I've got a quick question. So I'm just going to make a note here. So you say you've got a crowd and it's called niche website builders, and they upload all the content, or do they write the content?
They write it and they do keyword research, and they think about all the SEO matters, keep up with Google, and then they find images, do the formatting, tags, and it goes. So pretty high trust relationship because they have access to everything and I'm really dependent on them. But any spot checks, any discussions we have, it's really clear they're really, really good operators. So it's probably the hug of death recommending them, because then everyone goes to them all at once and then they're like spread too thin and keel over. And be careful who I ever recommend, but that's who I use for my copywriting, and it's been great. And then being hosted on Kinsta, every site's a WordPress site. We just try and keep things really simple. If there's an upfront cost to switch tech to all be in the same place, we inherit an email thing on a different, I don't know, somebody sells us something and it's on MailChimp and we use ActiveCampaign, we just take the hit and migrate it once and have it all on one platform.
Oh, yes. It makes so much more sense to do that. That really does. I have a question about your affiliate management. So you said you've got affiliates that help promote products from the various websites and things like that. Do you have a particular tool that you use to manage your affiliates, or what's that part of your business like in terms of
managing? I love affiliate marketing. So I've got sort of two types of affiliate stuff. We've got the other individuals, like the experts with a following, who will promote something like my ebook design business. And so that's my assistant reaches out to them, gives them a link, and they get paid through PayPal. And I think there's a couple of different platforms. We sometimes do, it's through a platform called Clec, which used to be called 10X Pro. So a lot of our affiliate stuff goes through Clec, which is actually an Australian company. And then the other thing that's related to affiliate stuff here is when people write your content for you or do your SEO for you, or even do your ad management of the sidebars, AdThrive or Ezoic or whoever, there's all these services out there monetizing your content site real estate, but there's no service out there creating really good quality links within the text to promote products or services. So we actually started an agency that does this called Affili, FFL, great name. I couldn't believe that was free. We only started this less than a year ago. So affili.com is just getting out the gates, and Tess, who works 2 days a week for me, she's CEO of that. So she's running it in sort of part-time hours, and she's doing a great job. She's built a really good team. We're building up a database of great products and services that convert well, that are quality, that pay out, that customers like the products as well, and even can feed into a content strategy. So our guitar site, we inherited it recommending affiliate links all through to these different guitars or amps. And then we go and research which guitars and amps are selling. We look at reviews, we look at affiliate programs of other sellers, and we can switch out a few, improve those links, add some things that we'd never thought, that the previous owners hadn't thought of adding. So maybe we add another post on electric drum kits and add an affiliate generated link for that. And then suddenly we've got some drum kit sales as well and get the commission on those sales. And the readers find it useful. The product people find it great to have customers brought to them, and it's way better than those scrawny Amazon associate commissions. A little bit of work up front for sure. It's free forevermore once you've got eyeballs on those links collecting commission every month. So that's been fun.
That sounds really
keep my hand in
interesting.
growing something. So that was
Yeah,
last year
absolutely.
project.
So starting from scratch, I've got a couple of curiosity questions for that one. I'm going to go and check it out for sure.
Yeah.
My question is that, can you explain the difference between that and what Pretty Links does?
They are, I don't know if they do as much manual work up front, because we have a team of humans scanning the best product. So we read every page of your blogs and we go, right, this one's all about training dogs. So here's some harness products. So these are a good fit for the customer. It's really manual. And then if it's a good one, we save it in our database. So we've got this great big list now of products and services that convert. It could be a high-end course. It could be a conference. It could be anything related to that topic, but we manually write that stuff in, plug it to go into people's content. So it syncs up with the writing team. We can feed the writing team ideas of products that aren't for sale yet. And so you should write one on this. It's a great product here and it's relevant. There's great search traffic and we've got a great product that fits it. And so it's a strategic engagement with the brand where we do that review and come up with the recommended products and services and then plug them in for the site. And then they should just see a quick uptick in commissions. So you're just leaving money on the table by not maximizing the quality and relevance of those links.
Oh, that makes so much sense to me because, like I said, we've got a lot in common. I have got 3 websites that I'm working on, still embryonic experiments and things like that. But the whole idea is to build up a portfolio of online assets, digital assets that do create passive, semi-passive income.
Yeah.
And basically, that's one of the things that's been an interesting journey is to what would make sense to have as an affiliate link in there. Do they have an affiliate program? Can you sign up to it?
Yeah.
What does signing up to it mean in terms of tax implications in different countries? Yeah. And it's just like, wow, if you've got somebody a team who goes and researches all that and has a database of all of those links, so you only do the research once. Yeah. And then you reuse that research many times. That's a really powerful business model. That's quite interesting. I will definitely check that out.
I think I had that idea in the shower or something. It wasn't because I think we were looking for that service ourselves and said, why is it so hard? There's people that do the ads, there's people that do the copy, there's people that do all your graphics, there's people that do SEO. This is like so obvious to me that there wasn't. Sometimes the best businesses are ones that you need for yourself.
Oh, yes.
But sometimes that's a trap too. You're the only one that needed it. But the more we've talked to people, the more everyone gets it. We're out there. Putting it into the world now. So we've got a great little team and it's been really fun. I'd like to buy businesses, but I also like to keep my hand in on a startup. And that's the one in my daydream. We could have a humongous exit one day, partner with SEMrush. Somebody like that. I don't want to make squillions, but a really cool equity share exit with another company that does similar services. All these WordPress plugin people that have those customers. There's copywriters, there's research tools. Quite fun.
There's so many things. And that is really fascinating. It's really interesting. Now, I want to ask a bit of a follow-up question because it's one that I've been rolling around in my head and I keep doing it occasionally because I follow flippa.com, which flippa.com, for those listening, if you haven't heard of it before, it's a platform where you can buy and sell websites and digital assets. It's not just websites, it's apps and things like that. And one of the things that I have always wondered about is it better, and maybe this is how long is a piece of string, but is it better to go in there and buy the website, or is it better to develop the website and then be selling the website? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That multiple either works in your favor if you want a quick income stream. So you say that the ones for sale are a net profit times 3. So say a business is for sale for 30K, it's just made 10K profit in the last year. So in 3 years, it's paid itself off. And every year you're collecting 10K. That's pretty nice forevermore. So that's like buying a house and it's mortgage free by year 3. Very nice to keep that cash flow going. And you could have plans to double it and grow it. And generally on Google type indexing, the longer you're there, the better things get, as well as the fact you're adding more content. The build to sell thing is a whole other game. And I've done that twice. I've sold 2 businesses. And the nice thing is you collect that big lump of cash the day you exit. But there's quite a lot of broker's fees, quite hefty. And I love Flippa because they are really good to the sellers. I work for the selling side, really, although they're a marketplace there. That's who the fees come through, that side. So there's broker's fees, there's tax. Now, everybody lynches me when I say, in New Zealand, we actually don't get capital gains tax on that bit. So we don't pay a capital gains tax to sell a business, which is very nice and long may that last. So I have a 30-odd% advantage over anyone else building to sell. And I still prefer to build. I like to build and hold more than to flip them. So there's a whole other strategy, and what Liz and Matt Rad teach is great. So that's sort of start by buying maybe an age domain or start from complete scratch, spend a bunch of time doing a really quality keyword research, content plan, build up your indexing on Google, and then maybe you sell it at that point, or renovate a slightly funky broken one that's been indexed, some great old Google News type site. And they've got great strategies and teaching on that for people that want to buy, renovate and flip. And I talk to Matt quite a bit. We make sure we never cross over each other, and I send any WordPress people to him, and it's a separate strategy. But I still like building. I love the creative process, but I'd rather buy a business with my budget to buy and then grow it from there. And then the more diverse income streams, the better. If you've got a business and you really believe in it and you've done a quality job and you know everything there is to know, you've actually got the biggest advantage to keep and hold and own that over anyone else buying it. So most people selling, pretty committed to selling. Nobody has a dabble at selling. There's a lot of work to bundle up those businesses and get them cleaned up, ready for sale, and go through the scrutiny that both Flipper and Empire Flipper put listings through. They really validate those now. Empire Flipper has for longer because they do slightly bigger deals. Flipper recently really tightened up the validation of those listings, which is good. It saves me loads of time, and anyone looking to buy can feel a lot more confident that that traffic's real and those Google Analytics are real and someone's actually eyeballed inside that site. Yeah, vendors have to do a bit of work to get ready to sell. They're usually emotionally checked out, want to go. They've got some motivation. And part of what I teach isn't so much how to measure the Google Analytics, but how to get inside the head of the vendor and come to a really, really good deal with them that works for them, works for me. Not just about the dollars, it's the terms. And really reading between the lines. Are they about to give you a hospital pass? Or is it some real mess and they're just a really good salesperson? So you've really got to pick those human things apart as you're dealing with the vendor. And there's always a broker jollying everyone along if it's a big deal. So combination of building rapport, keeping your critical thinking hat on, gun negotiating skills, and all the technical stuff. There's a lot to pull together. And I think what I can teach people is how to combine those different bits without being a tech whiz kid and without having a huge budget. I think there's some really good deals out there if you like the idea of having an instant income stream, but just need to fill in some gaps of your skills to close a really good deal or two or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And you might not do them all in a hurry, but there's lots there to be done.
There's a lot to be done. I have a bit of a question around skill sets, because in order to be able to build, as you say, and grow a business, whether you start from scratch or whether you buy and build, you still have to know something about this whole space. Looking back at your journey, do you think that right at the very beginning of your journey, you would have had the skills to be able to successfully just jump? Let's just say you just quit your job in government, and instead of building your own business like you did, you went in and bought a business. Would you have had the skills at that stage to be able to successfully do that, or would it just have taken longer?
I could have got it really wrong, thinking I was doing it just right. Yeah, that's a tough one. So I started with an Amazon business. I actually don't recommend people buy Amazon businesses. There's a whole industry out there picking over the good Amazon businesses for some, snapping those up. There's a lot that you could not know about an Amazon business, just the way the data's owned by Amazon. You don't really have any metrics of where those people came from. You don't have a customer list. You don't know if that account's had issues in the past. You can see inside one account at one snapshot of time. So you can't see if someone's been running a massive Google ad campaign to get those Amazon sales and not showing you that. So a bit scary to buy an Amazon one. So I won't use that as an example. I think if I'd bought something like a blog site that gave me a head start in becoming a good content site owner, I would have enjoyed the head start and used some of that time I saved to upskill as I went. But I certainly could have botched up a few things on what I was buying by not knowing enough about Google Analytics, or buying something on a platform that can't be migrated to another person. You do not want to buy a Gumroad-based business, I can tell you on first-hand authority. Can't migrate it. And you can't buy a business that's gone to somebody's personal PayPal and hope you can just switch everyone over to your PayPal. It doesn't work like that. And if you're in a different country, US things to New Zealand things do not always work. And so there's lots to factor in. And so anyone I'm helping, I always make sure we give one-on-one confidential deal review. Just can't be 100% on every bit of technology or every IP law and copyright of some code on some big SaaS deal, but there's certainly a lot of common sense, having done a bunch of deals, that you see some red flags jump off the page pretty quickly. And then a few things that are just gold. This is a great deal. This is a really cool product. And this vendor's really motivated. Let's go for it. And let's get this deal done and get really good terms for it. And yeah, I'd much rather buy a quality business at a fair price, like Warren Buffett says, than a doer-upper and you've bought yourself a big problem. You don't want a fair business at a great price. I don't want bargains. I want real quality. There's so much profit in these online businesses. I compare it with real estate. I've got some property, so much more profitable doing this stuff. But if you get it wrong or you've bought a duff one, there's not a lot to show for it very quickly. You can't borrow against them. You can't borrow against the income stream to do a different thing. So for years, I've had 10 years of online income. Well, the bank, I used to do breakfasts for the ASB, couldn't name and shame the bank. I used to do their business exporter breakfasts as a speaker. And then I went to them to get a blooming mortgage against my export business and they wouldn't give it to me.
This seems crazy in this day and age. It really does.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, it just, the thing that I find fascinating is just that whole, there's so much to learn, there's so much to know, and you can only get that through experience, I think, but you can save yourself so much time and pain and money if you've got somebody like yourself to be a guide through that process. Can you just, as we come to the end of the interview, can you just talk a little bit about, you've talked a little bit about it already, but talk a little bit more about the course that you have and the focus that you have on helping people basically get into this game. I'll call it a game because it is fun. I like it. I think it's a game. It's fun. Yeah. But if somebody was just getting started, kind of what would be the experience if they came and joined your program?
There's a little bit of self-reflection and self-awareness up front. So we put everyone who's interested in this through a profiling quiz, and you're a big fan of quizzes, I know. But just your tech skills, your introvert, extrovert, some sort of personality metrics, your level of ambition. Do you want an empire or a lifestyle? Do you want to actually buy a business you own and operate, actually buy a really cool job, which is better than a day job for someone else, but do you want to buy something you run or buy something that you own and someone else operates professionally? Do you need to have the team come with it, or could you find those people and happily build a virtual team? That's not the easiest thing for everyone. And a bunch of other questions there. And then there's all the different business models to consider. So the next wave of questions sorts out, are you creative or quite a data nerd and happy to crunch those pages of paid ad reports each day, which I certainly don't want to do. I never actually want to be dependent on a platform like Facebook for the paid ads or a thing I can't control. So a bit on sort of creativity and data. There's a bit of a divide there. And so we go through all these questions about what kind of business model would suit you. There's things like a content site, which is lower capital to get started, nice low risk, slower start. You're not going to be quitting the day job tomorrow if you start small, but there's ways to grow them and there's ways to manage them really well and get good service providers helping you do a quality job with them. So I don't teach the really gnarly SEO stuff, but I recommend using certain agencies or certain experts. I've got like a little black book of people we recommend for different things. Maybe adding more affiliate links or adding more ad revenue or doing better research on what keywords and growing it that way, or buying a bunch of them that are related to each other and doing a roll up or something. So content sites are great. I'm a big fan of newsletter businesses. I think that model's great. The open rate of emails, the niches you can get into, but with global reach, people looking to learn. So I've got a really cool sort of fledgling newsletter about artificial intelligence, which I started 2 years ago. And it's really cool. We do product reviews. We do a roundup of news of the week and who's who. We're just currently writing a top 100 influencers in AI, and we'll send it to them and they'll share that with their following because it makes them look really cool. And suddenly we'll have a bunch more readers and then we can go and ask for sponsorship, or every affiliate link we put in that newsletter starts to earn some decent income. I've got a friend who had a website that just reviewed virtual private networks and he sold it for $2 million cash. Wow. Not just the affiliate income. I think it was the database that probably Netflix wanted to see. It was dodging their paywalls. I don't know who bought it. He just said the media company bought it. That was really simple. Build a tech site that reviews tech with a cheap weekly update from an outsourced copywriter, review writer. And so newsletters are cool. And then you've got the products game. You've got the Shopify, e-commerce on Amazon, even drop shipping. I'm not such a keen products person as I used to be. There are good ones out there, but they need to meet lots of criteria to be attractive. And I certainly wouldn't recommend them for a first business for someone. And then there's the apps. There's the software as a service, which is the holy grail, but you do need to be a bit more sophisticated there. You can't just buy one of those and sit on it. These are the Silicon Valley you want the hockey stick growth curve, you need marketing firing, you need developer teams, you need new features. That's not a passive income to buy one of those. That's a cool project, but not a set and forget one, generally, unless you bought a really mature one. But you could have a marketplace. There's marketplaces like flipper.com or matchmaking ones, or any buy and sell of any trades or services, or an agency. Services like you could buy an online VA agency, although you'd have to be very careful to future-proof yourself on AI services for any kind of human skills at the moment. And then there's a bunch more as well, but the sort of broad categories of business model. And then we take students through training on, once you've identified which business models you like the look of and your budget, where do you go to look? So getting set up on the platforms where these things are bought and sold, what questions to ask vendors, and a whole session on setting your own individual criteria for what business you want to buy. That's a whole big module on that. Then through to deal assessment and due diligence. That's a big gnarly thing you want to get right. And the bigger the deal, the more important and the more attention you're paying to those double checks and crossing and T's and dotting I's to check everything's as it should be. Like seeing exactly what you'd inherit as the proud new owner. And then we do training on the transition. So getting your own operations up and running, a 100-day plan to do a really good kickoff, really strong start. And then opportunities for scaling. Maybe you improve the affiliate links, maybe you cut some costs, maybe you add some services, maybe you add a product to a service or a service to a product. Maybe if your portfolio's got a bit of a common theme, can you get some efficiencies in the back end or cross-pollinate your product? Author who needs this, author needs ads, author needs design services, things like that. Author needs to promote a new book and a newsletter. So I've got quite a few publishing related things because I'm still doing lots of book publishing. You don't need a big team and you don't need a big budget and you don't need to be very techy, but you do need to have a bit of structure to your approach to it. And I give everybody one-on-one feedback, and we have a live weekly call as well in the community. So we can either have a sort of a blurred out name of deal, but see the financials, or look at the story. And we've got confidentiality agreements and things, but we can see what's included in a deal and what's attractive, what's scary, what would you negotiate on, should you really be double checking with the vendor that's definitely, is this really as it should be, or does that really look right? So really good learning. And the more people see other deals being done, A, they'll feel more confident to do their own, and B, they'll learn a lot by watching over the shoulder of me and other people doing deals. And I'm still doing lots of deals. I'm out there looking all the time, alternate between big ones that make me a bit scared and then back to some nice little easy ones and roll them in and jump around a bit. But I'm starting a few software things in partnership with other people mainly, but ideas I've had, but I don't want to be driving tech teams and developers and running around conferences doing sales pitches. So I like to stay at home. I like this online portfolio just being nice and steady, and I like helping other people. Got this new program, Freedom Navigator, to help anyone else who's looking to get started buying online businesses to get some good help along the way. Because there's not really any other independent people you can talk to as you go through that process. There's the brokers with an agenda, and they're great at what they do, and they actually make the process run pretty smoothly. The vendors often, you're not going to meet them in person, and you've got to build a relationship with them, but you don't really know who you're dealing with there. So you've got to be quite critical as you think through each deal, but also look for all the positives, if it is all as good as it should be, of what you could do with it and what it means for you. And you might not need to do that many deals to get a real turnaround in free time, income streams, lifestyle, stress levels. They don't need to be really racy businesses. I've got really boring, this design thing. We send out this little pack of design templates once a month. It's super boring. The design looks beautiful, but there's one moving part a month. That's it. And lots and lots of PayPal transactions a month, and that's it. But I've got all these other really fun ideas for business, but that's so simple, but so easy, and simple and boring sometimes exactly what you need.
Yes, because sometimes simple and complicated, or complicated and chaotic, it can be really, really super stressful. Sophie, that's been really, really interesting. I've been fascinated. Thank you so much for sharing all of the things that you've learned and your wisdom. If people were interested in finding out more about what you're doing, or if they're interested in the Freedom Navigators type program, where would they go?
If you head to the website, aspiringentrepreneurs.com, and we can pop that link in the show notes. It's a bit of a handful of typing, lots and lots of vowels. Aspiringentrepreneurs.com. That is where you can learn more about the Freedom Navigator program. So there's a free training, there's a free ebook. I'm doing a little project at the moment, which I can't believe no one else has done, on rounding up all the online deals on all the different platforms So that would be like a weekly newsletter service, and you could become an early subscriber on that as well. So some education there in a program that's not free, but plenty of free stuff too. So there's a course, a short course and a book, and you can sign up to this deals website of what deals are on the market. Really love helping people with this stuff and talking about it. And thank you very much for giving me the chance to talk with you today. It's a really nice format when the podcasts, you've heard one thing and then the questions are about that one thing. It's not all pre-scripted. You hear something and then you think what that leads to and what questions your listeners are going to be having at the same time. So love that format. It's really nice. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's just been really, really fantastic.
Super. Thanks, Trudy.